The Invictus Games are doomed. Yes, as long as they have their very, very toxic patrons leading the way, I think the Invictus Games will die a slow and painful death, which is horrible for all the soldiers and veterans who are involved in this program. I think it's a great thing. I think it's fabulous that they do this competition. However, their patron leaves a lot to be desired. And a lot of ways, I think just the simple association with Harry and Meghan can sink the Invictus Games. And that the Invictus Games itself, if it wants to continue, has some really big questions to answer, because this week we've gotten official confirmation, as if we did not know this already. And of course, we also have another announcement from the royals that is now buried in this announcement, that Harry and Meghan, yes, they are attending the Dusseldorf Games, as if we did not know that. I mean, what else were the two of them going to do? They have nothing else going on. Because at this point, the writers and actors strike, they basically have nothing to do. So of course they were going to go. And it sounds like Meghan's going to be there for longer than she was last year, which was 3 days too long. And if it wants to be a program that builds and grows and continues to reach out to people all over the world, they really need to drop their patrons, because unfortunately, the thing that is going to sink the Invictus Games is Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. So we'll go into the details of this today and share with you some other royal news. But if you guys haven't been to Royal News Network, my name is Brittany. I provide compelling royal commentary about the latest news, sometimes a little bit of the drama going on behind the scenes. I also have a weekly newsletter, a fashion channel, and I have a membership program. So if you're interested in becoming a member, there's a link down below. And on a little bit of some other royal news, we have Catherine and William. For the anniversary of the Queen's death, the two will be at St. David's Cathedral remembering Her Majesty. So this is a cathedral in Wales, definitely very much not only remembering Her Majesty, but representing the fact that they are the Prince and Princess of Wales. We do know that Charles will spend the day privately up at Burke Hall in Balmoral. And so it'll be great to see Catherine and William out. That might be perhaps their first engagement of the year. The day before that, Prince Harry will be in the United Kingdom for the Well Child Awards, which he was supposed to attend last year before the Queen died, actually that same day. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes with Prince Harry. We also have news from Queen Maxima of the Netherlands, because apparently a farm program in the Netherlands regarding chickens has been moved, or not moved, but has expanded here to the United States. She gave a little intro to North Manchester, Indiana for its Kinder Farm opening. So go ahead and take a listen to a little bit of this here.
Today we're celebrating a fantastic new link between the United States of America and the Netherlands. I would like to thank the people of North Manchester and all of Kipster's American partners, certainly also Kroger, for their input and involvement in this project. I would like to thank all the US business partners and scientists who are so committed to this. It is thanks to your leadership and confidence that we can make the sustainable production of food with respect for animals the new norm. Kipster goes America. To everyone working at Kipster in North Manchester, I wish you every success.
All right, guys, I think that's so exciting. I'm so glad that we have something like that here. And it's so fun to get, especially the foreign royals speaking in English, because it's fun to listen to them speak their own language. It's obviously beautiful and unique and interesting and thought-provoking, I think. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't understand what you're saying. So it was just really fun to see her go ahead and share some things in English. You can hear her Latin, her Argentinian origins there coming through a bit. So she's originally from Argentina, so obviously she speaks Spanish, Dutch, English, and I've heard as well a bit of French and maybe German as well. So many of the other foreign royals are quite multilingual. We also have King Carl Gustaf and Queen Sylvia of Sweden. They attended part of the Water Festival Awards that they have over there in Sweden. It's considered the Nobel Prize of Water, of all things, but it's also about conservation and those sorts of things and how important and precious water is to us. So it was really exciting to see the two of them out there doing that. He also attended an event earlier that day with his daughter. And so we do have royals getting out and about again. It's so exciting because most of the time in August, it's very slow in royal land because everybody's on vacation and doing their various things. So it's fabulous to see the other royals coming out. But now let's get to Harry and Meghan in the future and the Invictus Games, which I think looks really, 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 really bleak. Prince Harry, when he first announced the Invictus Games, I think so many people were behind him in this project. And I think we saw the culmination of the biggest reaction to this in Orlando in 2016. So he had the first games, I believe, in 2014, and then the next ones in 2016. And I actually traveled to Orlando to view the games because I thought it was cool. I was a royal watcher. I wanted to see Prince Harry at the time. And so it was just a really, really fun event. I got to watch the sitting volleyball, which I actually got really into. I actually really, really enjoyed watching that. I thought it was just a ton of fun. I did also get tickets to swimming. That was not as fun. I did have to leave before the basketball. That looked fun. So there were just all these great things. And you saw Harry oftentimes interacting with the winners. There was this great moment too where me and my sister were actually leaving the venue because we had to get to the airport. So this was at the ESPN Center. And Harry was stopping and he was talking to people. And there were some people trying to get selfies, but this was before royals did selfies. But he was very much talking to this elderly woman. And so it was just very sweet to see him interacting so naturally. And I was just a huge fan of the Invictus Games and what they stood for. I thought it was a great opportunity for those who have both mental and physical disabilities in reaction to war and combat, for them to have something that brings them together, that gives them that sense of accomplishment and competition, I think is so, so key. So first of all, number one, I want the Invictus Games to continue. I 100% do. I think it's fabulous. I think it's wonderful. The problem is Prince Harry, and especially Meghan Markle. She offers nothing to the Invictus Games. She adds zero to the Invictus Games at all, except for that it's another opportunity for her to show off her $100,000 wardrobe plus, because that's how much she spent last time, was about $65,000. We will probably get another $100,000 wardrobe this time because she's actually there more days. And this is why I think the Invictus Games is doomed to failure. Meghan Markle should not be there. She should not be there. And the simple reason is, number one, it draws all of Harry's attention to her. Instead of interacting with the other soldiers and their wives and their families and everything, he's walking around with his hand on her. They're holding hands, they're talking, they're smooching, they're carrying on, they're grabbing onto each other. So Harry, by just default, because she is there and she has to be next to him at all times, it limits his interaction with others. So he's constantly trying to placate her. He's constantly having to pay attention to her at the expense of the people who are there competing, who are there, who are recovering, because it's all becomes about Meghan for Harry when she's there. When Harry's there by himself, he's interacting with everybody. I think he's a little bit more genial and everything. But when Meghan is there, all of his focus must be on her. That is how she's designed their relationship. That's how he reacts to their relationship. We saw this, I think, in the Toronto games. That's when she first made her sort of public debut as a potential royal fiancé. And again, Harry was all about her, holding her hand, her dragging him along, as you say. I would say him dragging her along, but she's really there to soak up all the limelight. And as a result, you know, they get the kitschy thing. They're chatting with each other and they're doing all this. And I'm like, but you're not paying attention to the soldiers. It becomes a Harry and Meghan show with Meghan leading the way. That's a problem, because the Invictus Games should be about one thing and one thing only: the soldiers. Meghan Markle has no purview in that world. She did one USO thing where I don't think anybody cared that she was there. Even the people she was traveling with, the people who were all more famous than her, like, who is this chick? There's that famous moment in that video where they're all singing Christmas things and she's like in the middle trying to like move to the music, because apparently Meghan can't dance, and everybody's off to the side and they're all giving her like 5 feet of space. And it's like, I don't think she made any friends on that trip. And none of those people have come out and go, how wonderful was it to hang out with Meghan Markle? No, because it's always becomes the Meghan show. Number two reason Meghan shouldn't be there is because not only is she clinging desperately to Harry, but she seems to think that it's her personal fashion show. And so last year she had $65,000 worth of new clothes, at least that I could count. And that included a necklace worth like 15 grand. Why? Why are you walking around at a charitable event with soldiers and their families walking around in $65,000 of new clothes? $1,000 pair of sunglasses? $1,000 for a pair of sunglasses. Jeans that cost $500? Why? And no branded gear whatsoever. Not once did Meghan wear something that said Invictus Games on her. It all had to be Celine, Chanel, Cartier, all these sorts of big name brands. It could not be the Invictus Games thing. If Meghan goes, it should always be that she only wears Invictus Games merch. Why not? When I go to Europe now, I bring a lot of my own Royal News Network merch. That way, number one, I don't have to think about what to wear. I wear basically the same thing. I mean, different shirts, but they're the same shirt. So I don't have to think about it quite as much. I have a whole week wardrobe and just long shirts, short shirts, and a zip up that I technically have 3 copies of. So it's fabulous because it takes a lot of the burden off me of trying to figure out what to wear. Now, granted, for this next trip, I'll have more things, but I do travel with branded merch because it's an opportunity for me to share my brand with others, for people to see me, and all these sorts of things. That's what I do. That's part of brand building. Yeah, Meghan couldn't do that. Even though Harry was wearing it, she was too good for it. Was she too, I'm gonna guess she was too good for it. Or, she had gotten this new Valentino dress, she had this new Brandon Maxwell thing, and she had to wear that. She couldn't be seen in the Invictus Games wardrobe that everybody else had. She needed to show off her ill-fitting, adds 20 pounds to her frame, Valentino suit. That's what she needed to wear. And that's not to disparage Meghan's figure. That's just to say, why are you showing up in such a flashy, expensive wardrobe to a charity event? That's not where you need to wear that Valentino suit. Wear that Valentino suit to a concert event. Wear that Valentino suit to a red carpet event. Your Invictus Games with your husband that represents soldiers from other countries who have been injured in combat is not the place for you to trot around in your Valentino suit. That's not the place. That is not the place. Number 3, obviously, since the Invictus Games has been founded, Harry has gone from one of the most popular royals, if not at times the most popular royal, to one of the most unpopular royals. I mean, he's consistently over Andrew in a lot of ways. He consistently beats his uncle. Bravo, Harry, and he always beats his wife as well in the popularity polls, but that's it. That is it. All the other royals are more popular. Harry and Meghan's brand has become so insanely toxic that nobody really wants to be associated with them. Because, number one, you don't know if they're going to keep your confidences, because they certainly don't keep anybody's in California's. What are they going to do about yours? And then they are completely and utterly willing to always portray themselves as a victim. They're willing to take no responsibility for any of their actions, any of their decisions at all. And so why would you want to be friends with them? Why would you want to connect with them? And their brand is so bad. It's basically poisonous to get attached to them, because once your brand becomes attached to Harry and Meghan, people around the world are wondering, well, what's wrong with you? Because you like them and they like you. What's wrong with you? Because I don't want to associate with them, and because you're associated with them, I don't really want to associate with you either. It becomes, again, this very toxic thing, and that Harry and Meghan simply can't get out of this vortex of toxicity. And not only has their popularity plummeted, but you also have this thing where it's become increasingly evident how ill-prepared they are, how much they don't work, how much they don't care about their charities, how much this is all basically a show. And that's, I think, the biggest problem, is that this is no longer about the soldiers. It's about a platform to support the financial requirements of Harry and Meghan. Harry and Meghan need the financial success of the Invictus Games to help fund their lifestyle. Now, granted, I don't know if they're getting a huge payout from the Invictus Games or anything like that. What I mean by that is that it has become an avenue for Harry and Meghan to really try to portray themselves as charitable when they might not really be that. And so it's a way for them to do this in a week's time, where they're like, oh, look how wonderful and great we are. We're so charitable. We help other people, while desperately clinging to each other and only talking with each other. That's pretty much what they do when they're at the Invictus Games. And now we even have Heart of Invictus. This documentary, I'm sorry, but Harry and Meghan got paid to make that documentary. Yes, some of that went into production costs, but some of that went into their own bank account. So now they are officially making money off the back of the Invictus Games. If the Invictus Games documentary does well, they may get a bonus of some kind that's built in by their contract with Netflix. They might get something like that. And so it becomes this thing where Harry and Meghan are just very, very toxic. And they're very, very much using soldiers, those who have been wounded in battle, to pad their own pockets. And that, I think, is reprehensible. And that's why I think people are distancing themselves from the Invictus Games. Yes, they probably still have somewhat the same sponsors, but I wonder too if people are like, okay, we'll give it this time. We'll give it this time, see where this goes. But at the same time, they're like, I could use a little less Harry and Meghan. One of the initial reports I saw, because the Invictus Game starts on the 9th, goes to the 16th, somebody said Meghan would be there on the 11th. So she would be there almost the whole game. Now they did rescind that, the person who tweeted that, and now maybe she'll come the 12th or the 13th, but that's still a long time for Meghan to be there for no discernible reason. She offers nothing to the games, and she's doing the closing ceremony. Why? What does she have to offer of any of these soldiers or wives except for empty platitudes and woe is me in my $14 million mansion? You look at you you're missing some of your limbs, but me, I have to walk around my acre property, and sometimes that's really hard. And sometimes it costs a lot to water the greens. I mean, yeah, you can't get around in your house. You need a wheelchair accessible house. But my house, I don't have the right number of garages. So Meghan has nothing to offer these people. She has nothing to offer these people. This woman has never worked a hard day in her life, has no clue what combat is like, has no appreciation for what these soldiers have gone through. This is all a self-glorifying mission for Meghan Markle. So the Invictus Games going forward, what does it need to do? Well, number one, it needs to drop Meghan Markle completely. They should tell Harry she can't come here. She can't be a part of this, because this should be about you and your connection with the soldiers, not her. Because when she's there, all you care about is her. That's all you care about. And so she needs to be eliminated from this. And then perhaps things make it better. And then if they need to go so far, it needs to be, you know what, Harry? You really can't be our patron anymore. Get somebody like Gary Sinise, who has gone out of his way to help our veterans, who has paid his own money towards them. Harry, as far as we know, has not really paid any of his own money to the Invictus Games. It's all been a way to make him money now. Because the great thing about the Invictus Games, when it was first conceived by Harry and his team, yes, I know there's a lot of stipulations and questions about how much he was involved, but let's say he was very much involved in the formation of this. When he first conceived the games, in a lot of ways, let's say he actually was super involved with it. When it came to the financial aspects of the games, it went to the soldiers, and it went to promotions, and it went to the venue. So we know that none of that money ever went to Harry, ever touched Harry, because it all went to other people involved in the program. Because yes, an event like that needs to make some money, because that helps fund it for the next years, and it needs to have some impact. So there are people who need to be paid. There are ways to save up money generated by the games itself, totally fine. But when it comes to Harry, as a royal, we know he didn't take a cent, because royals don't do things to make money for themselves. But that's totally changed now. Harry is now all about making money for himself and his wife, Meghan Markle. So at the expense of the games, at the expense of this thing that he loved so much, now it's become all about him. Now it's all become about the dollars and the cents for him and Meghan. And yes, I don't know the details of the financial, how much of a payout they're ever getting or anything like that. I mean, I would imagine their travel and hotel is covered and perhaps some other things, but it really shouldn't. If this is really about the soldiers and not about you, don't take a penny. Don't take a penny. Fund your own travel. Fund your own hotel. You can do it, Harry. You and Meghan Markle live in a $14 million mansion. Why in the world does a charity need to pay for your hotel expenses? Especially one you created. That just seems to be somebody who's all too willing to steal from the pot of other people. If you really had this altruistic vision for the Invictus Games, if you really wanted to support your fellow soldiers, don't take a dime. Don't take any travel expenses, nothing. Make sure that everything, as much as possible, goes to the games. And that's why I think all the countries who love it, because I want these games for the soldiers. I want these games for the soldiers. I don't want it to become the Harry and Meghan freak show. I want it to be about the soldiers. So what should the soldiers and the countries do who are deeply invested and want this to continue, find it very, very positive in their lives? They need to separate themselves from Harry and Meghan. Maybe, sure, yeah, Harry can come, but he can't be as deeply involved anymore. And especially no Meghan Markle. It has to be about the soldiers. Bring it back to the soldiers, because as soon as Harry and Meghan arrive, it becomes the Harry and Meghan show at the expense of the men and women the Invictus Games is supposed to support. So guys, let me know what you think of this video. Let me know what you think of Harry and Meghan going to the Invictus Games. And oh, I totally forgot. Let me read the announcement to you guys, because this is funny. This is genuinely very funny to me. It says, a spokesperson concerns that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex are delighted to be attending the Invictus Games 2023 in Dusseldorf next month. Harry will be there from the start and Meghan will join him later in the competition. They'll both be at the closing ceremony. The only thing I want to say is, why in the world are they delighted to come? Of course they were coming. They're acting like, oh, it's a surprise. Look, we're coming. Aren't you surprised? Like, no. Why are you saying you're delighted to come as if you've been invited and you finally decided, yes, I want to come? It's your event. It's just so dumb. But overall, I think the Invictus Games should go forward, but no Harry and Meghan. So guys, again, let me know what you think of this video. Let me know what you think of that ridiculous statement. And is the Invictus Games doomed if Harry and Meghan are still associated with it going forward? Let me know what you think, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.